When a person says, I will like die on the notion that I am Zulu, right? And you are able to point to them that actually that's a new identity you acquired recently.
Yes, it's
right?
200 years old.
You are actually not Zulu at all. You are Ndwandwe or whatever. Zulus were a small tribe or clan that over time took over, whether willingly, I guess some people will say we joined forces and all of that.
Sure.
So, but you are able to defend that culture, right? As if this was a culture you were allocated, like it was always in place. It was not in place. It's the same thing I have an issue with Afrikaans culture, because it's a creation of the Cape Colony, Afrikaners, both the culture and the language, right?
Afrikaner is 190 years old.
It's 190 years. It's now by virtue of like life and all of that is yesterday. It's 5 minutes ago. Right? So culture is always evolving. And, if you go back to how we ended up being called Zulu, Ndebele, the formal structure of it actually comes after the formation of the Union of South Africa. It's actually not even an apartheid thing. Apartheid used it for other means.
Sure. But it was the British.
It was the British. It was allocated. This exercise was done by University of Cape Town. The British, remember what the British were trying to solve for. Britain always sent administrators to the colonies. And sending a team of administrators was always so expensive. So they were always looking to pull them out as soon as possible. And the easiest way they figured out to pull them out was to appoint the local administrators. This is why chiefs and all of that have got a lot, kings and whatever, have a lot to explain, because they became the local administrators of the British monarchy, right?
They still are. But
they still are, right? So that's what Britain was always trying to solve for. And when they were looking to solve for that, they were trying to understand Abantu. They were too complex to understand. Right? And they said, we can't manage these people without understanding like what makes them, how to differentiate between the groups. And if we just see them as one big group and we entrench that identity, that is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Because these people will always be the majority in that sense. So the exercise that was given to University of Cape Town at the time was to say, how else can we subdivide these groups? Right?
So they're easier to manage.
They're easier to manage. That's why I'm saying when someone says I will die or kill you because I'm Pedi, and what the hell? Like Pedi as a cultural group is a creation of the British. Right? They went and said, okay, we think the easiest way of grouping these people is by dialect. Right? So what we call Bapedi today or Spedi is an amalgamation of a number of cultures whose languages felt similar. And this is why I'm saying, for example, Balobedu are considered Pedi. And they are such a separate group. And in fact, Kilobedu, which is the language they speak, it has like some similarities to Spedi, but it actually, you can tell the difference.
It's its own language.
It's its own language. But these things were all grouped together. So to say I want to die on the basis of this grouping defined by, that's just like, for me, it's like, it's madness,
How did the Zulu Nation came about? Because it came about at some point in the development of South Africa. It was not always there. So how did it come about? So the Zulu Nation, the name conjures images. When you think about the Zulu Nation, the name conjures images of disciplined warriors, strategic genius, and fierce independence. But the Zulu were not always a kingdom. They began as a single small clan among many Nguni-speaking chiefdoms. The transformation of this small group into a mighty empire that fundamentally reshaped Southern Africa is one of the continent's most compelling stories. It is a tale of political ambition, military revolution, and the singular vision of one man, uShaka Zulu. The early seeds, a clan on the White Mfolozi. The origins of the Zulu Nation stretch back to the 16th century, founded by an ancestor named Zulu Kamalandela, the son of Malandela. The name Zulu, meaning heaven or sky, belonged to a minor Nguni chieftaincy situated near the White Mfolozi River in the 18th century. Right? In the 18th century, they were just one of many independent clans, often overshadowed by large confederacies. However, the early 19th century was a time of immense pressure in the region. Population growth, drought, and the desire to control trade routes along the Indian Ocean intensified. Right? It intensified competition between the major chiefdoms, particularly the Mthethwa under Dingiswayo and the Ndwandwe under Uzwide. This conflict set the stage for the rise of a revolutionary leader. So who's that represented? The architect, Shaka's rise to power. Shaka's own youth was marked by exile and hardship, giving him a drive that was unmatched. As the illegitimate son of Zulu chief uSenza Ngakhona, he was exiled with his mother, Queen Nandi. He found refuge and training in the army of the powerful Mthethwa Paramountains under Chief uDingiswayo. Shaka learned from Dingiswayo, but soon surpassed his mentor. He implemented radical military reforms that entirely changed the nature of Nguni warfare. Right. Replacing the long spindly throwing spear, the Igwa, named for the sound it made when withdrawn, and forced close quarters combat and decisively increased casualties. The bull's horn, a strategic innovation where warriors advanced in three sections, the horns to encircle the enemy, the chest for front assault, and the loins held in reserve. Disciplined age regiments, AmaZulu. He broke the power of the clans by drafting young men into non-hereditary, centrally controlled age-set regiments, demanding absolute obedience and military discipline. Upon the death of Dingiswayo around 1816, Shaka took control of the Mthethwa alliance, swiftly consolidating the former Mthethwa and Zulu clans and began his campaign of conquest. The empire is forged, defeating the Ndwandwe. Shaka's greatest rival was Zwide of the Ndwandwe. After surviving an initial attack, Shaka decisively defeated Zwide's forces at the battle from Mhlathuze River around 1820. This victory shattered the Ndwandwe alliance and confirmed Zulu dominance. Shaka's strategy was not just to defeat his enemies, but to incorporate the remnants of the broken clans into his own nation, giving the name Zulu to the entire amalgamated population. That's how Zulu became about. That now people know as AmaZulu, but it was just a small clan at the time. You see? So the intense period of warfare and forced migration across southern Africa became known as the Mfecane, the crushing of forced dispersal. While the Mfecane caused immense devastation, the flight of many tribes like Ndebele, who went on to found new kingdoms elsewhere, it was simultaneously the crucible in which the mighty Zulu kingdom was forged. So that's how the Zulu came about. Now you know. Thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Tebus Kosana. The name of the platform is Zulu Nation, the voice for Africans. Kamakuma Africa.